Hey everybody, and welcome to Lounge TV. I'm Uncle Larry.
And I'm Tom.
And you're keeping it real with me.
I like to get in the chair that always gets the sun over here.
How come you always complain? I can't help it. That's where the sun... If you got a problem with it, talk to the sun.
Hey,
I'm sure it'll
sun.
listen. Guys, we are going to talk about a subject that is kind of touchy. It's a little controversial. I mean, there's probably going to get some butthurt people over this, but that's okay. And this subject is, just like it's titled, when voices should stay inside your head and not come out. Because it seems to me like this generation, and it's not even this generation, because it's old, actually, I shouldn't say this generation, because it's a lot, mostly, that I'm seeing, is from the older generation. But it is also the younger generation, too, that I see it happening. But it's happening. Oh, let's just put it out there. We're seeing it across the board.
Yeah.
And my phone goes. Okay. So my point is that certain times in life, you were told when you were a kid, especially, I hope you were taught this when you were a kid, it's that my dad used to say this to me all the time. I wonder what he meant by it, because why did he say it to me so much? It's better to remain silent and be thought a fool than to speak and remove all doubt. He used to say that to me, I'd say once a week at least. So I must have spoke a lot and he thought I was a fool. Point being is that so many times people say things, because you think something, they don't research it, they just blurt it out, or in this case, type it down. In a lot of cases now with media the way it is. And it's quite frustrating to people who know that it's false that they're writing down. For instance, I'll give some examples. Okay, so we all know who Bobert is, right? She had said something about, because somebody asked her if she was vaccinated, and she said, well, that's against my HIPAA. Well, guys, guess what? Research HIPAA is not against your HIPAA. You have the right not to answer that, whether you want to or not. You have a right to not answer that. However, that is not what the HIPAA law is about. Research it for yourselves. Don't take my word for it. Research it for yourselves, guys. It's just about medical fields cannot talk to other people about your medical condition, blah, 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 all that stuff. Just read about it. You don't have... If a business has the right to ask you, are you vaccinated or not vaccinated, you also have the right to answer or not answer. But then you have to remember, they also have the right to say, I'm sorry, because you won't answer, that you can't be served here or come into our store or whatever. That's their right.
They have the right to draw conclusions based on what you answer.
Exactly. I mean, you can't claim that you have rights and other people don't have rights. Everybody has rights. So, if and I'm not getting into a discussion about vax and anti-vax, and that's, you make your own conclusions on that. I've been vaccinated, he's been vaccinated, I have family members who are not vaccinated, which will lead me to another discussion.
Perhaps for another time.
But it's not about whether you should be or should not be. If you have a argument on not being vaxxed, I respect your argument, as long as it's based on truth and not lies, and not what I deem a lie. What that you're saying that it's unhealthy for someone because there's no facts to back that up. But we're not getting into that part of it. I'm talking about right now about people who write things down. And for instance, Dak Prescott, which because I think we did where we got Cowboys pens not that long ago.
Yes.
And we were talking about the Cowboys, and I think I was talking about Dak Prescott, even in that, how he's a stand-up dude and everything. I like him. I think he's a good dude. However, he didn't type this down, but when he was asked if he was vaccinated, he said, pretty sure that's my HIPAA. No, it's not. It's your right to answer the question or not, but it's not your HIPAA. Now, I really feel like this is going to generate a lot of things. Like, in other words, like Tom, if you ask me, and go ahead and ask me, did I eat the last piece of cake?
Okay. Dad, did you eat the last piece of cake?
I'm sorry, that's my HIPAA. This is what's going to, oh my gosh, now my phone's going to go off now. Okay. I'm going to put it over here on the chair, because then it won't make a sound. I don't know if they can hear it anyway. But this is what's going to happen now. Everybody's going to make fun of HIPAA and be like, I'm sorry, that's my HIPAA. And I think it's hilarious because it's been taken out of context. People, and this is my point, a lot of people don't educate themselves first, and they just go and say something. I mean, you see it all. I mean, you warned me about this before I even got on the internet.
Yeah.
It's like, Dad, this is what the internet is full of, self-righteous people. And now I'm going to go into the next thing. The next thing is that because I was sick on our vacation, I've read because I read the comments on Lounge TV, guys. I have been reading some of them on the other channel just recently. I'm going back to not reading anymore, so you're in charge of it again.
Yeah.
Because my brain starts hurting afterwards. It really does.
And when you're sitting there sick, of course, you're gonna find something to do. You got your phone.
Yeah, and guys, I mean, I know that some of you mean well and stuff like that, but you shouldn't write things down that are so ridiculous. Like, it's from your air conditioning in your car. I'm sorry, but yes, you can get congested in your car ride and maybe a scratchy throat, blah, 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 in your car ride. But guess what? After you're done your car ride and a week later, if you are sick from that, that means you have a bacterial infection that you got from that thing. No. I had a head cold. It's pretty clear and simple. That's what it was. It was a pretty bad one, but it also happens to be going around right now too, that I've heard. I don't understand why people write things down. Like, as a matter of fact, it's not like you're saying that, hey, do you think it could be?
Because I was going to bring up, like, it's also a matter of, like, suggestion. Like, if you're saying maybe it could be from the air, like, then it kind of
it's a little bit different.
Maybe it's from your air conditioner?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you know, that's a thing that happens.
Right.
But it's also different. It's just like, it's from your air conditioner, and if you don't think that, you're stupid.
Yeah. I mean, and then there was another person that said, you're fine, COVID's a joke. You know, COVID's not a joke. I don't care what anybody thinks out there. I don't care what your opinion is on this. It is just your opinion, and just like all opinions, they like assholes and they stink. It is not a joke. And you know, and maybe you would be the insensitive person that would say this to somebody who lost a loved one, because I mean, we've lost a loved one. You mean to tell me that you would tell that to a person whose spouse just died from that, or whose kids, whose parent just died from that? You would sit there and say it's a joke? It's not a joke. It's not funny. It's ignorant is what it is to say something like that. I don't fathom why people write down the most idiotic things on there. Now, some people we know they're just getting their rocks off or whatever. We know that there's a certain amount of people. This person happened to their profile picture happened to be very young looking, so I'm just going to write it off as ignorance. That it's just ignorant to write something down like that. We can get on the thing about...
It doesn't really excuse it.
Yeah, we can get on to the thing about, like, the conversation of whether underlying conditions or any of that stuff, and you think it's just like a cold. It's not just like a cold, because a cold does not kill so many people. It's a cold that... It is the coronavirus, which is the same as a cold, but this has never been around before, so the body reacts differently to this. And then another thing, some people were saying something about, well... I know, excuse the traffic out here, guys. It's get loud sometimes. But yeah, people will be like, you know, well, you know, it's just a cold, blah, blah, blah. You should know, you know, you can just have a cold. It doesn't have to be the coronavirus. Guys, research it before you say something stupid like that. Research what the coronavirus symptoms are, especially the new Delta variant. It's much like a cold symptoms. Now, granted, some people are going to get it worse than others. Well, it's the same thing with the flu. Some people can get the flu and be fine. Some people who are elderly, like myself, can get the flu and die from it. It is like that. We're not saying that it's not. It can be very, very bad. We're saying that it's like, yeah, we understand it could be cold, but when the symptoms are the same as something else, shouldn't you be careful? Especially if you're living in a house, well, at that time we were vacationing with people who aren't vaccinated. I had to stay isolated. Sure, could have I did a few more things probably on those days that I was sick? Probably. I could have took some cold medicines and did some things. I couldn't. There were people we were with that were unvaccinated, so it's like
why take the risk?
Right, I had to play it safe, so that's just how life is. I could have been ignorant and just went down there, and it was just a cold, which I figured it probably was. There was a time where I was a little worried about it because it went into, coughing spasms and stuff like that, and so I was a little bit worried about it. But I'm just saying, it's better to be safe than sorry. I always believe that. But I'm just saying, guys, research before you type something down, because I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. And it's like, and also realize what you're typing down could be totally false. That doesn't make it okay to type it down. I just
kind of going on what you would say earlier, like the one about like the kid who typed that. Okay, you're young. That's probably just information regurgitated from like
your parents
or whatever media you might be consuming.
Yeah.
But then what about those if they did get it from the parents? What about the parents?
Right. Right. But see, some people live in a bubble, and they don't experience anything outside of their bubble, where they see that people have died, that were healthy individuals that died from the COVID. Whether you want to go on the argument of underlying things or whatever, that's irrelevant.
I mean, pushing away the COVID part, like these are still like grown adults my age or older, who are making these like blatantly like. There should not be a society that claims the world is flat.
Right.
We have proven that time and time again since Egypt.
Yeah.
This was calculated with obelisks in the middle of the desert. We've known that the world is a sphere, or oblate spheroid, whatever it is. Oblique spheroid? I don't remember. But we've known this for thousands and thousands of years. And here we are with the greatest net of the collective human intelligence in history.
Yeah.
And people are just like, nah, world's flat.
Let me give you another example of people who write things down that are just absolutely ridiculous real quick, okay?
All right, well, while you looked that up, I want to go on a little bit. Like, the one post that like somebody else made was just like, okay, what about Mars? Is Mars just a disk floating in the sky? And they're like, no, Mars is round. What?
Yeah.
How do you make that leap of logic?
Right.
Oh, Mars is a sphere. Okay, then why isn't the Earth? Because it isn't. It's flat.
Okay.
It doesn't make sense.
I
don't get it.
Right. So here you go. And this is a senator.
Mm-hmm.
Her name is Wendy Rogers from Arizona. Excuse me if I'm talking about you guys, Arizona. But she wrote this down. And this is on her Twitter feed. I like Indians. And well, this is in response to Cleveland Indians changed their names. I don't know if they're going to be changing their name from the Indians to the Guardians. Because there's a lot of, you can argue both sides of the things. Like, is it really offensive? Well, you know what? It doesn't really matter if you don't think it's offensive. If it's offensive to the person that it's offending, or that race of people, then it's offensive, period. Okay, so she wrote, I like Indians. I like Redskins. I like Aunt Jemima, and I like Uncle Ben. I like Robert E. Lee, and I like Stonewall Jackson. I don't like traitors who hate America. Stand up for our culture. Well, maybe you should research this before you go and write this stuff down.
It's like, okay, on board with it.
Yeah.
On board with it. Wait.
Yeah. In case you didn't realize that the two people that you just named were traitors to the Union. And, you have to understand that. You shouldn't just blurt it out and say it. I mean, there's some voices, literally, that if you hear a thought that goes in your head, doesn't mean you should say it, or type it. And in this instance, you actually typed it, so you had the thought, and then you took it a step further and wrote it down. Now, granted, you like Indians, you like Redskins. I like it, people who are Native American. I like them. But in the point of, if you like them, if they say that something offends them, shouldn't you not offend them? If you really like them, if you're saying the God's honest truth, and you're not lying at all, and you like somebody and they say that offends you, shouldn't you make an attempt not to do that? I mean, that's the voice you should be listening to, not the other one that sits there and says, well, you know what, this name's been around for so long, blah, 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 blah. I don't know why you get offended. If you called me this, it wouldn't offend me, but this offends you, it doesn't make any sense. That's not what it's about. It's like, if it offends somebody, and you say that you like them, then you wouldn't offend them anymore. Like, if I slapped Tom across the face real hard, and he said it offended him, I shouldn't do it again.
I think that would do a little bit more than offend me.
Well, I'm just saying, I'm using that as an example. I mean, like if I punched you, no, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just saying that it's the same thing, though. It's just, I'm just using it as an example.
Yeah.
I don't understand why all of a sudden we got to this point where we're just saying or typing down things that are really ridiculous.
It's one thing also to say it, because like when you say things, your mind can just be going faster than your mouth, and you blurt something out, and then you realize as soon as it leaves your mouth, like, oh crap.
But it's quite different
when you type it down, you're taking the time to type it out, especially if you're a slow typer.
Right.
And then you just you take the time, you type it out, you have time to read over it. You probably will to make sure you didn't typo something.
And
then you don't read over it and then think huh.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think about that for a second?
And I know that somebody made an app a while ago, because I remember seeing it, and I don't remember the app exactly, but it was something in respect that it was like you type something down, and then you pretty much are asking the app, should I hit the publish on this? And the app would tell you, are you sure you want to, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Which I think is an excellent idea. And it's almost like, it's sad that our society now, we need an app to tell us.
To filter us.
Yeah, to filter us, because we don't have common sense anymore to what we should write or what we shouldn't write. And not even just that, it's not even necessarily the filter a lot of times. A lot of times, I don't think people care. Like, if you even ask them, they'd be like, I don't care. Did it offend you? Ha, too bad. They don't care.
Part of that thing is also just the dehumanization of social media.
Oh, yeah.
It's a weird thing. It's like it's more human, but it's less human, because there's no face to associate to it. It's just an entity. Like, yeah, there's people on it. You look at it, it's just like, so many people use this.
Yeah.
But you don't really interact with any of them.
Right, and I remember reading something. I think Ice-T, and I'm paraphrasing this. Ice-T wrote this thing down, something about like the people who have become internet bullies are the ones that would have got punched square in the face in school if they would have said that. Mm-hmm. They're the ones now that have become the bullies, which is sad. It's sad that that people bully each other on the internet, because there's no ramifications for it. Mm-hmm. You can write down whatever you want, and there'll be people that'll write stuff down on this video, and it'll just get deleted, and you'll get hidden or whatever, and that's what you wanted, that's what you get. There will be no response, so you're just wasting time writing stuff down. Was that a bee?
Yeah.
That's a big fly.
That's a fly?
Yeah, that's a fly.
Ugh.
He's like this big, guys.
I'm even more.
That's one of the flies that bite you. They take a whole chunk. That's what happened on my bicep. I used to have it there. A fly came up, took it right off. I could have wrote that down, and people would have believed it probably. Now, my point is with this is like, when did our society become this society that we don't no longer keep our inside voices inside? We let our inside voices out. That because everybody has these stupid thoughts. Everybody does, or these irrational thoughts. But we have to learn some voices should stay inside your head. That's where they started. That's where they should end. Mm-hmm. Never come out. I'm just saying. That's my opinion, guys. You guys can disagree with me all you want. It is what it is. Anything else to add, Tom?
I got nothing.
He's got nothing, because he's keeping it all inside, as it should be. Well, guys, till next time, grab yourself something cold to drink, put your feet up and relax. We'll meet you at the lounge.
The outro goes too fast for me to use this water bottle.
You dribbled.
I know. What did I just say?
I can't look at you.
Keep your inner voice in your head.
You just spit on me.
I